Your life as every rank in the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Rank 1. Private. Ryadavoy. The helicopter is not supposed to come down this fast, and the sound the tail rotor makes as it comes apart is a sound you will still be hearing in your sleep 40 years from now. Then the floor becomes the ground. Then there is a rifle stock against your cheek, dust packed into your teeth, and a ringing that swallows every other noise in the world. And through the ringing, someone's hand closes on your collar and drags you sideways behind a boulder before you understand you've been hit at all. You haven't. You're just 20 years old, 11 days into Afghanistan, and already off every map that Moscow believes exists. 3 months ago, you were in Tashkent, studying to be an engineer, and then a letter came. The letter said nothing about Afghanistan. It said service obligation. Your mother cried at the station and held your face in both her hands and couldn't make a single word come out. Your father stood behind her and nodded once, like a man agreeing to something you couldn't hear yet. You understood it later in Termez, when a major with tired eyes told your unit you were going south to help a fraternal socialist state maintain order. He said it without looking up from his notes. Nobody asked a question. Nobody knew enough yet to ask the right one. The country does not match the briefing. Nothing here matches the maps. The roads on the maps run through places that have no roads. The villages sit kilometers from where the paper swears they are. What actually exists are switchbacks cut into bare rock, dry riverbeds that become rivers in 4 hours, passes at 3,000 meters where the wind will strip the skin off your face if you turn the wrong way into it. You learn the geography the way soldiers always learn geography, by where things go wrong. North of Bagram, the convoy routes funnel through 2 choke points the Mujahideen already know better than any colonel in Kabul ever will. The map you were handed before you crossed the Amu Darya is useless, but not because it's inaccurate. It's useless because it describes a country with a government that controls it, and that country is not the one under your boots. Your sergeant is named Vasily. He's 26, has already done 1 tour in the eastern provinces, and does not talk about it. What he talks about is water, constantly. Drink before you think you need to. By the time you're thirsty, you're already behind. The men in these mountains can go farther on less water than you can, and that is not a rumor. That is a thing he has watched happen. He respects them the way a man respects something that has been trying to kill him for a year and hasn't managed it. The first real engagement comes on the 9th of February 1980, on a dirt track 12 kilometers north of Charikar. The column stops for a reason no one explains. Then the lead vehicle turns into a shape you don't recognize. Metal folded wrong, black smoke standing straight up in the cold air. Then the sound reaches you. Then Vasily has you out of the vehicle and behind cover, and you're staring up at a bare hillside, where nothing moves and nothing shows itself. And that is the entire problem of this war in a single frozen frame. They fire from positions you cannot find, and then they are simply not there. You empty your rifle into the rocks. 11 minutes later it stops. 2 men from 2nd Platoon are going home a different way than they arrived. You don't know their names yet. By the end of the month you'll know all of them, and that will be worse. Afterward, you and Vasily walk the ground looking for something. A spent casing, a scuff, anything that explains where the fire came from. There is nothing. The rocks have been worn smooth by 1,000 winters and they tell you nothing at all. This is standard, Vasily says. They don't leave evidence. They don't believe in it. They believe in being gone before you can count the places they were. You want to ask who taught them that. Vasily watches the question form on your face and doesn't answer it, because he doesn't know either, and because he has learned that wondering about things you can't change is a way of getting men killed. He teaches you by example. You watch him not wonder, and slowly you learn the discipline of it. Rank 2, Lance Corporal, Yefretor. 2 months in, they promote you. Not for anything you did, because the men above you are fewer now, and the men below you need a face to look at. You carry the same rifle and walk the same ground, and the only difference is that sometimes someone younger asks you what to do and you have to answer as if you know. This is the season you meet Marcus. He arrives in a replacement draft in the spring, a few weeks behind you, assigned to your section in Logar province. He's your age, quiet, with a thin pale scar running vertical through his right eyebrow that he never explains and a gray wool scarf he wears in every weather, even when the heat sits on the valley like a hand. What you notice first, though, is the counting. Every time the section moves, every halt, every regroup, every time you spill out of a vehicle into the open, Marcus counts. Heads. He does it with his eyes and a small motion of one finger touching each man in the air, lips barely moving. The first time you catch him at it, you ask what he's doing. He says, everyone. That's all. everyone. Later he tells you the rest of it, the way men tell you things at 2 in the morning on a forward base and never mention again. He made a promise before he shipped out that he'd bring his people home, and he decided the way to keep it was to never lose count of them. It's a superstition. He knows it's a superstition. He counts anyway, and if Marcus has counted you, some animal part of you starts to believe, you get to come back. You run 11 operations in Logar between March and July. 7 make contact. Of those 7, 4 you cannot honestly say you won by any measure you understand. You take a hill and then you leave the hill, and when you return, someone else is standing on it. You destroy a weapons cache, and 2 weeks later a bigger one appears closer to Kabul than the first. The war is not moving in a direction. It is turning in a circle. You start to see this around month 5, and around month 8 you stop letting yourself see it, because seeing it makes you useless. And Vasily told you that would happen. And Vasily is right about this, the way he is right about the water. Your first leave comes in October. 10 days in Tashkent. Your mother meets you on the platform and starts crying before you've come down the steps. And you don't know what your face is doing, but you know she can see something on it that wasn't there in the spring. You eat what she makes, you sleep in your own bed, and it feels like a stranger's. On the 4th day, your father asks how it is over there, and you tell him it's fine, and he nods the way he nodded at the station, like he knows fine doesn't mean fine. You don't have language that would work in this kitchen for what happened on the track north of Charikar. So you fold it up and take it back with you when the 10 days are gone. Rank 3, Sergeant. Sergeant. By 1982, you're a sergeant. Not Vasily's kind yet, but the kind who knows the procedures and is still surprised by everything the procedures don't cover. Your company is in Kunar now. The valleys are narrower here, the ridge is higher, the village is older in a way you can read on the faces of the men who come out to watch your column pass. Not hostile in any way you can act on, just waiting. The way people wait who have watched armies move through these mountains since long before anyone in Moscow was born. You lose your first man in Kunar. His name is Dmitry Oreshkin. He's 19, from Omsk, and he tells you once that he wants to be a veterinarian when he gets home. He's careful and quiet, and he follows every instruction exactly, and he dies on a footpath on a clear, bright morning with no sound and no warning at all. A mine. Old, maybe Soviet, maybe not. The ground doesn't say. That night, Marcus counts the section back at the base and stops. Does it again. Comes up one short, out loud, and then can't seem to make himself stop saying the number, quietly, to no one. It's the first time you've seen the count fail him. He keeps counting after that. He just knows now that the number can go down. You write the letter to Dmitry's mother that night by lamplight, in a base that smells of diesel and kerosene. You write that he served with distinction and courage. You write that he died quickly. You write that his comrades respected him. You write everything except what actually happened. Because what actually happened is not a thing his mother can carry, so you carry it for her instead. After Dmitry, there are others, and after a while you stop saying their names out loud, because saying them out loud makes them more dead. You know that isn't logical. You do it anyway. Your notebook fills with letters you never send, because sending them would confirm something the official reports are built to keep unconfirmed. You lock the notebooks in a box. You'll carry that box for decades and never once reread it and never throw it away, because throwing it away would be a betrayal of a different kind. The men are owed something. The notebook is what they get. Rank 4 Lieutenant. Lieutenant. It's 1984, and you're an officer now, attached to a reconnaissance battalion out of Bagram, in command of a platoon of 28 men. Marcus is one of them. He's had 4 years to make corporal, then sergeant, and he has quietly declined every rung of it, and nobody can explain why a soldier that steady keeps stepping out of the way of his own promotion. Your Zampolit is a man named Fedotov, 31, who gives political briefings twice a week that nobody listens to. He isn't a bad man. He's a man doing a job the war has quietly made pointless, and he knows it, and he does it anyway because stopping would require a conversation no one wants to have. Your platoon runs 14 reconnaissance missions in 6 months. 4 go wrong in ways you survive. 1 goes wrong in a way that costs you 3 men and a vehicle and 7 hours of night movement through a canyon so narrow you can't raise anyone on the radio. The walls are too close, the angle is wrong, and there is nothing to do but move and count and move again. You come out the far end at 4 in the morning. There are 25 of you where there were 28. The vehicle is still burning 2 kilometers back in the dark. When the platoon finally stops, Marcus counts. You watch him do it, and you already know the number, and you watch him arrive at it anyway. 25. He says it flat, and then he sits down on the rock with the scarf pulled up over his mouth and doesn't say anything else for a long time. You offer him the promotion again a few days later. Sergeant. He's earned it 4 times over and you need him to take it. He shakes his head. And then he does a thing you'll think about for the rest of your life. He pauses, and he looks past your shoulder, at a spot in the empty air behind you, the way a man looks at someone who's just walked into the room. Except there's no room and no one there, only the mountain and the wind. Then he comes back to your face and tells you why. The day they make you a sergeant, he says you stop counting men and you start counting numbers. And a number can be acceptable. A man can't. He says it quietly, without accusation, the way you'd explain something obvious to a friend. He'd rather stay where he can still count them one at a time. You let it go. You're already becoming the other thing, and you both know it, and neither of you says so. Rank 5. Captain. Captain. You're a captain by 1986, the year the Stingers arrive. You know they've come before any official word, because you see the smoke trail, and then the helicopter, and then the smoke trail rising again where the helicopter used to be. Me 8, 11 men. You watch it from a ridgeline 2 kilometers off. The weapon was 4 feet long and rode on a man's shoulder, and it is accurate enough to change the entire war, and it does. Within 8 months, the flight profiles change. Helicopters stop flying at medium altitude. They fly low and fast and at night, or they don't fly at all. The doctrine that worked in 1980 does not work anymore, and the price of learning that will come to 333 aircraft before it's finished. By now, the word at the officer level is that something has to change. The search and destroy model doesn't produce results the 40th Army can defend on paper. Villages cleared, caches found, roads secured. And the insurgency is bigger in 1986 than it was in 1980. Everyone at your level knows it. It's never said in words anyone could quote. It lives in the pauses between briefings, in the tents after the map tables are folded away, in the particular silence of men who've been here long enough to know what the numbers actually mean. And the men rotating home are not the men who rotated in. You can see it in how they carry themselves and in what they reach for when the day ends. There's a word starting to move through Kabul for them, not yet in print. Afghanistan, the veterans. Men who went through something the country they're returning to has no category for. You already are one. You just don't have the word yet. The rank sits differently on you now. As a sergeant, you were allowed to understand things as circumstances. As an officer, you're required to understand them as decisions. Your decisions, whether you made them or not, because that's how they'll read in the reports. You give an order one afternoon on a hillside, a clean tactical order, the correct one, and men move because you said so, and as they move you see Marcus off to the side doing the only thing he has ever reliably done, counting them. His finger moving in the air, his lips going, and you find that you can't watch it, and you look away and you tell yourself it's because there's a valley to clear. Marcus is still a private, 6 years in, the most dependable man you have ever served with, and he has spent 6 years making sure nobody could ever hand him a number and call it acceptable. Rank 6, Major, Mayor. In 1988, the Geneva Accords are signed, and you're a major now, Operations Staff, 40th Army Headquarters in Kabul. You help build the movement tables, the convoy routes, the sequencing which units leave when, which equipment gets extracted, and which gets left behind or destroyed. The planning happens in climate-controlled rooms, where the war is a set of variables and can be solved like a problem. The maps are current here. The projections show feasible windows where the losses would be acceptable. Acceptable. You hear the word come out of your own mouth in a briefing and it lands somewhere it didn't used to land. Men will die in acceptable numbers. That is the thing this rank finally teaches you. You can sit across a table from Fedotov and talk through acceptable loss rates over coffee, and then stand up and walk out into the corridor and be, for a moment, a person to whom that conversation felt normal. The Army needs officers who can do that. You became one. It took 9 years, and you can date almost exactly when it finished. The withdrawal runs 9 months, February to February. The convoys grind north through the Selang Tunnel, more than 3,000 meters up. The air inside thick enough with exhaust to kill a man who stops moving in the dark. The Mujahideen let most convoys through. Most, not all. The last ambushes of the war are indistinguishable from the first ones. A mountain road, a vehicle burning, men on a ridge you cannot see. The machinery of leaving looks exactly like the machinery of arriving. The mountains never learned the difference. You are at the Friendship Bridge at Termez on the 15th of February, 1989. The same city where a tired major read to you from his notes 9 years ago and didn't look up. General Gromov crosses on foot, alone last, which is a thing someone decided would photograph well. And in the column of men crossing ahead of the cameras, moving north out of the country on their own 2 feet, you see Marcus. Still a private. 9 years. The scarf, the scar, the same quiet. And as he steps onto the bridge, he's doing it. Counting, the finger moving, the lips going. Counting the men crossing around him the way he has counted every formation you've ever stood in with him. You fall in near enough to hear. And what he's saying isn't a few hundred. He isn't counting the men on the bridge at all. He says quietly, evenly, to no one, 15,051. And then he looks up. Not at you, past you. At that same spot in the empty air he found on the mountain 4 years ago, holds it half a second too long. And then he steps off the far end of the bridge into a country he's allowed to survive, and is gone into the crowd. You will spend a long time telling yourself he was broken, that the number meant nothing, that a man counts strange things after 9 years in those mountains. It's easier than the other thing, which is that 15,051 is the exact confirmed count of your dead. A number nobody has finished tallying yet, a number still being argued over in documents you'll never be allowed to read, and Marcus said it on a bridge in February of 1989 as if he'd simply reached the end of a count he started the day he arrived and never once let drop. You come home in March. There's no reception. The country is coming apart at its own seams in ways it'll take 2 more years to fully show, and nobody at the station is holding a sign. You carry your bag through the crowd, find the bus, get on. The man beside you asks what you've been doing. You say work. He nods and looks out his window, and you look out yours. And the city does what cities do. Storefronts, a woman pushing a pram, a glance up at the bus that goes through you without landing. Your service record says the following. Dates of deployment. Units served. Actions participated. 2 decorations. No disciplinary notations. Honorable discharge. It does not say Kunar. It does not say the canyon at 4 in the morning, or the names in the incident reports, or how many times you rewrote a letter until you found the version a mother could survive. And it does not say Marcus, the most dependable soldier you ever served with, who stayed a private for 9 years on purpose, because he understood from the first spring what took you until Kabul to learn, that the moment they give you rank, you start rounding men into numbers, and numbers can be made acceptable. You carry a locked box of names you never said out loud. Marcus carried the same names and never once stopped saying the th. That's the whole distance between what he was and what you became. And you had every rank in the Soviet army to close it, and you spent all of them walking the other way.